So on the one hand, Sherston can be really inspiring. On the other hand, there's a lot of people like Sherston. There's always been a lot of people like Sherston. There's always been a lot of young people who want to change the world. But what's changing, I think, in the social sector is a shift across generations from people who are focused on the activities of doing good to the achievement of doing good. A shift from thinking about what I do is good to what I accomplish is good. And one way in which that exemplifies itself is the way in which people are willing to expose their own failings in an effort to achieve more good. So, in the middle of the financial crisis, Sherston wrote a blog post titled "We're in Trouble." And she laid out the fact that Forge was very likely to fail in the short term. But what was interesting about it wasn't because people didn't care about Forge or her supporters had gone away. She had shifted from a model in which US students had gone abroad and run these refugee programs and were responsible for fundraising. She had shifted to a model where refugees on the ground ran the programs. And from an impact perspective, everybody agreed this had increased the good that was being done on the ground. But from a fundraising situation, it was completely detrimental because her key fundraisers, the students who were going abroad, were no longer involved to the same extent. So rather than kind of make one more plea or to kind of cover up all the problems, she went out and said, things are falling apart and I need your help. I picked up on this on my blog, and at the time it was a kind of a passing thing, and I said, hey, this is one of the most important nonprofit blogs today, because you're seeing activity of transparency that was not saying we need help, right? Every nonprofit, or many nonprofits, have put out that fundraising, please, we really need your help. And that's not what this was about. She was saying, we're gonna go away, and maybe that's okay, maybe we just aren't good enough. But here's my argument for why we need the fundraising. Readers of my blog kind of swarmed around this idea, and a consultant came out and said, Sherston, I will do a consultation for you for free as long as we do it transparently. I want to be able to blog all of my thoughts about your organization and publish the consultant's report. And Sherston to her credit said, sure, knowing that he's going to come find problems. Clearly, she knows there's problems. A PR agent came ahead and said, we'll do free work for you. And after a long period of 3 or 4 weeks of people writing and commenting and arguing whether or not this was a good organization to save, I put up that I was going to give $1,000, and my readers followed up with $13,000. And then a foundation, an honest foundation, came out and said, we'll give her $50,000. She needed $100,000 to close the budget gap. We'll give her $50,000 with another matching $50,000 if she can raise the $50,000 from what we've given her, as long as the money is used towards reconstruction of her fundraising program. Sherston saved her organization. And the Wall Street Journal ended up profiling her and focusing on not the fact that she was doing so much good work with refugees or that she'd saved her organization, but how she had done it, that she'd embraced transparency as a way to save her organization. I'm quoting the piece saying, public confidence goes up, not down, when people quickly and honestly admit their mistakes and explain how they're going to move forward. You only do that if you care about achieving good as opposed to doing good. Right? We can all feel good about our work. You go every day, and then it didn't work out, and so you start a new nonprofit, you just try something new. But Sherston was so focused on saying, I actually want to help these people. That's the key here. It's not about just saving the organization. And so to me, it exemplifies a new way in which people are behaving. That's Sherston on a bag of Doritos. So that's not like Michael Jordan or a super wealthy athlete, right? This is her when she's 25 years old, running a very, very small nonprofit. And Doritos, what they care about here is the branding potential, right? They want to resonate with you and have the identity connection with you, where you buy a bag of Doritos because you want to be just like Sherston Erickson. I think that's really cool. It's a way in which our culture, even if the cynical view is, well, Pepsi's just trying to sell bags of Doritos. But what's neat is that they've realized it's an effective way to sell Doritos, to resonate with people by putting social entrepreneurs on their bags, not just wealthy athletes. How many people here use Twitter? How many people here have over, say, 10,000 followers on Twitter? So Sherston has 1/3 of a million followers. It's because a couple months ago, Twitter has a recommended list of people to follow. And there are people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Barack Obama and Ashton Kutcher, right? And a couple months ago, they put out a list of social entrepreneurs, people who are making a difference in the world. And Sherston Erickson was one of those people. Look, Forge isn't huge, it's just a couple people in the United States. But her absolute focus on achieving good and doing it in a transparent way is connecting, I think, with the way our culture is changing their views of how social good happens. Now, Sherston's young, but when I talk about the emergence of new leaders, it's not about a generational shift, right? So Liz and Steve Alderman are another very perfect example of this in my mind. That's their son, Peter. Peter died on 9/11. He was in the World Trade Center. And when I met Liz and Steve, they talked to me about the way in which they got the Victims' Compensation Fund money. It was like $1.5 million. They weren't particularly wealthy people. And Liz said, there's no way I'm taking that money, that's blood money, right? My silence or my complicity is being bought by the government. And Steve said, but it's $1.5 million, and we don't have to take it for ourselves, so we could do something for Peter with this money. We could do something to really make a difference. And so they took the money and started a foundation.
We are very ordinary people. We liked our lives, we enjoyed our lives. I functioned as a doctor. Liz was a special ed teacher. When this event happened to us, it changed the trajectory of our lives. It changed how we saw the world and what we did about the world.
Our youngest child, Peter, was killed on September 11th. He was attending a conference at Windows on the World at the World Trade Center. Steve and I knew that we had to create our own memorial for Peter. And one night I watched a Nightline broadcast that talked about the 1 billion people who had directly experienced torture, terrorism, or mass violence. And if we could return those people who had survived the event to life, then that was absolutely the most perfect memorial for Peter. We opened our first clinic in Siem Reap, Cambodia in March of 2005. We now operate 9 mental health care clinics across the globe.
When we looked around the world, for example, in Uganda, for every medical professional, there are 1.25 million people. Liberia has 1 psychiatrist. People in post-conflict countries around the world, in Asia and Africa, if they experienced one cataclysmic event, the average was they experienced 8. If a lady saw her husband led off to be executed, the chances of her having been raped were very good. The chances of them being driven from their homes were very good. So what happened to us was horrible, but what happened to them was horrific. And right now we are ministering to these people.
We work 8, 10, 12 hours a day. The work has been incredibly important, really, for my survival. I think Peter would be very, very proud of the work that we accomplished. And what we are doing is we are creating a profound and indelible mark that Peter existed on this earth.